who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Karen, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the Sunday, March 1st, 2026 issue of Viewpoints section of the Buffalo News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Okay, our first article is titled, Stop the World, I Want to Step Off. How to Stay Sane Amid the Mental Overload. At 84, I am an analog guy in a digital world. Sure, I do Zoom meetings and check my smartphone too often. Yet my mental health suffers, I swear, from the almost vertical rate of societal change, political mayhem, transition from a human to digital dominated world, and the sense that Big Brother's cameras know my every move. Stop the world, I want to step off. I wondered if this is a general perspective. So I asked 25 of my friends on email how they feel about the world around them on a 1 to 5 scale, from 1 quite comfortable, 2 okay, 3 a bit unsettled, 4 really unsettled, to 5 it's affecting mental health. All are smart and many are accomplished or becoming accomplished. A few are young, most not. A couple are Trump fans, most not. The range of responses was from 2 to 5, with the average just under 4, really unsettled. The Trump fans were more comfortable, while my liberal fans were at 5. Nothing earth-shaking here, yet I contrast this anxiety with my post-World War II childhood. The mood in small-town Illinois, where I grew up, seemingly generally positive, with expectations high for a better world as the Beach Boys harmonized sunny tunes in the background. Respondents to my informal survey mentioned as unsettling factors Trump, AI, difficulty in sorting through media propaganda, mental overload, decline in traditional values, and concern for the world our children will inherit, our grandchildren will inherit. After our human history, in which basically nothing changed from generation to generation, the rate of change on a vertical axis is now basically straight up, as displayed in an economics article in January headlined, Did Killers Make the Modern World? As a college student years ago, I frequently devoted from 7 until closing at 10 in the library researching a term paper. If I found 3 pertinent articles that evening from the hefty volumes of the Reader's Guide to Periodic Literature, I considered myself successful. I still needed many more hours to cogitate and agonize over writing the paper. Today, type a few words into Chat GPT, and presto, the program writes the paper. The race to artificial general intelligence will continue at a frantic pace, and it won't be throttled because the goal, like the mountain, is there for the ambitious to conquer, with great rewards for being first. It's as if we are literally in the process of outsmarting ourselves. All the while, the world around us invades our once private selves via shadowy surveillance that maps our every move. My car manufacturer knows where my vehicle and I are every second of the day. Woe is me, what to do? I offer a potpourri of efforts I am making to preserve my sanity and maybe boost my efficacy. Increase my daily step count from 10,000 to 12,000 or so. Brisk walking lifts my spirits. Meditation. I am new to this and try to do it while on my walks. I fix my gaze at a point in the distance, purging the cacophony from the world around me. Wednesday without my smartphone. I am trying to wean myself away from devices which inflame and depersonalize in their quest for eyeballs. Increase my involvement in good works and important public issues. For example, I am adding national gerrymandering reform to my present work in Illinois to create fair legislative maps. Using computer software to draw exotically partisan gerrymandered maps almost guarantees the outcome of an election before the election is held and increases polarization. Fair maps increase general election competition. This tends, though, through the need to appeal to a broad electorate to draw us together rather than pull us apart. Whatever you do, please don't step away from our political society. I worry this would just add to the cynicism, anxiety, and anger I heard from my survey respondents. I recall the quotation of Raymond Moley, who created the FDR Brain Trust and later became a conservative newspaper columnist. Politics is not something to avoid, abolish, or destroy. It is a condition of life, like the air we breathe. It is ours to live with as we must, to influence if we desire, to control if we can. Either we must master its ways, or most surely we will be mastered by those who do. And this was written by Jim Nolan. He has been a Republican precinct committeeman, state legislator, statewide candidate, campaign manager for U.S. Senate and presidential candidates, chair of the Illinois Executive Ethics Commission, professor in Godfrey. He lives in Princeton, Illinois. Next, we have another article, Minneapolis for the Nobel Peace Prize win, by Ellen Burkham. A Nobel Peace Prize for Minneapolis? I say heck yes, knowing full well that this immodest boosterism is darn near heretical in Minnesota. Politeness is hardwired into the North Star State. We famously don't take the last donut in the box a colleague shares with the office. That's interesting, is about the worst we'll say about somebody's dubious hairstyle or choice of attire. Our goodbyes can extend 30 minutes or more to make sure we don't offend someone by leaving too quickly. Boasting simply isn't in our nature, but this is an extraordinary moment, one that demands we temporarily cast aside our northern manners and toot our own horns for a change. The Nation, a monthly progressive magazine, has nominated the people of Minneapolis for the Nobel Peace Prize, praising resistance to the Trump administration's immigration and deportation campaign. In a letter addressed to the Norwegian Nobel Committee, posted in late January, the publication cites mass peaceful protests and moral leadership. It contends that Minneapolis has embodied the Nobel standard of promoting democracy, human rights, and human dignity, and set an example for those resisting authoritarianism worldwide. Minnesotans should celebrate this moment and nurture the nomination however possible. More about this in a bit. We earned our right to be included in the elite group under consideration this year for one of the world's most prestigious awards. Armed and masked agents from immigration and customs enforcement, as well as Border Patrol, roamed our streets. 2 Minnesotans died. At one point, Vice President Vance claimed these agents had absolute immunity, though he has since backtracked on that. Minnesotans didn't cower in fear. They took to the streets, sometime in bathrobes, with their phones to document abuses, bringing receipts to demands for accountability. We also came together to help neighbors too fearful to leave their homes to get groceries. And we did all this in a brutal stretch of sub-zero weather. We hauled out the hand warmers, the Carhartt coveralls, and Sorel snow boots and acted like it was no big deal to protest at minus 20 degrees. The CIA couldn't have designed a better psyop. Imagine being an immigration agent from a southern state where parkas come out any time it dips below 50 degrees and watching Minnesotans shrug off the Arctic temps. Minnesotans deserve this nomination. So how does this process work? And what are our chances? Some good news: 2 individuals with strong Minnesota ties are already among the list of Peace Prize laureates. One is Norman Borlaug, an Iowa native and argumentist, educated at the University of Minnesota, who won in 1970. Another is Frank Kellogg, who was born in New York but represented Minnesota as a U.S. Senator and also served as Secretary of State. He won in 1929. Still, a major caveat is that a city has never won before. I cruised through more than a century of previous winners listed on the Nobel website. The first Peace Prize was awarded in 1901, but it's gone to individuals or organizations such as the Red Cross. While the Norwegian Nobel Committee looks to have some flexibility, such as adding names of those who were not nominated, stated eligibility rules give further pause about a city's inclusion. All living persons and active organizations or institutions are eligible candidates for the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel website states. Cities aren't explicitly ruled out, but it's unclear if they can be ruled in as an active organization or institution. I was also worried about the nomination by the nation after taking a close look at the relatively narrow list of qualified nominators. Generally, it includes heads of state, members of national governments and assemblies, and members of other elite institutions. But also eligible are university professors of history, social sciences, law, philosophy, theology, and religion, university rectors and university directors, or their equivalents, directors of peace research institutes and foreign policy institutes. I reached out to the nation this past week. A spokeswoman said that its nomination meets eligibility requirements through a staff member's university affiliation. The nomination also made the Nobel nomination deadline of January 31st. The committee doesn't publicly share who has been nominated until 50 years have passed, but it's safe to say that Minneapolis will face stiff competition, as it should. In 2025, the Norwegian Nobel Institute registered a total of 338 candidates for the 2025 Peace Prize, of which 244 are individuals and 94 are organizations. The highest number of nominations came in 2016, when there were 376 contenders. The winner or winners are chosen in October and receive the prize in a December ceremony in Oslo. The work to narrow the field begins in February and March, when a short list is developed. The peaceful defiance playing out in the metro will certainly be fresh in the minds of the 5-member Norwegian Nobel Committee. That's helpful. The nation has worked to raise its nomination profile in Norway, hoping to draw the Nobel Committee members' attention to it. The spokeswoman shared an example of press coverage there. Maybe Minnesotans who speak Norwegian or have cultural ties could wield their influence too. Actor Mark Ruffalo is rounding up support as well. He recently took to social media to urge the public to sign an online petition amplifying the city's nomination. So far, there are 39,054 signatures collected. It's easy to add your name. Just go to tinyurl.com/sign Nobel petition. I'm not sure how helpful it is, but it certainly can't hurt. And if a Norwegian Nobel Committee member happens to read this column, you never know, I'd add this to the list of reasons why Minneapolis should win. The latest Nobel Peace Prize winner presented her medal to President Trump. Minneapolis certainly would not denigrate this honor the same way. Minnesotans are much too polite for that. And you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Viewpoints section of the Buffalo News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Okay, next we have a short article, Popular Governors Rise Above Party Despite Trump's Efforts. Another exercise in nonpartisan cooperation ended sadly, as Donald Trump undoubtedly planned. Every year, the nation's governors meet with the president to discuss common concerns. Trump had initially banned 2 Democratic members of the National Governors Association from attending, Jared Polis of Colorado and Wes Moore of Maryland. The association's chair, Oklahoma's Governor Kevin Stitt, a Republican, objected to Trump's banishing of 2 members. The governors' gathering is one of the few cross-party events still held at the national level. He can invite whoever he wants, Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt snapped like a high school mean girl. And Stitt explained to Trump, "I said, sir, I can't cancel an event at the White House. The only thing I said was if it's not for all 50 governors, then the NGA is not the right facilitator for it." Trump backpedaled and said, "Okay, Polis and Moore can attend." About our governors. As the highest elected state officials, they manage, budget, and lead in emergencies. They set educational standards and oversee road projects. In other words, they do things that matter to everyday citizens. And facing a statewide electorate, they must appeal to a broader voter base than representatives cosseted in their gerrymandered districts. Because their job involves around pragmatic problem solving, governors occupy one of the political offices for which voters will cross their party lines. In addition, their party affiliation doesn't greatly change the power balance in Washington. The jobs above the fray nature helps explain why deep blue Vermont has a Republican governor and conservative Kentucky and Kansas have Democratic ones. On the Tennessee governor's official website, Bill Lee offers an extensive biography covering his deep Tennessean roots and accomplishments in office. Nowhere is the mention of political party. Lee is a Republican. With congressional Republicans staring down a rough ride through the midterms, some political analysts have expressed surprise at polls showing momentum in governors' races, leaning more toward Republicans than Democrats. Some wrongly hold up these Republican-friendly surveys as evidence that the party isn't in as much trouble as was widely thought. But the real reason was already outlined above. Washington Republicans have largely submitted to Trump's grifting schemes and erratic policies. The tariff chaos chaos being most unpopular. That makes them a different animal from Republicans in state capitals in Montpelier, Vermont, or Columbus, Ohio. Speaking of Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine did himself proud by denouncing Trump's demented claim, echoed by the spineless J.D. Vance during the 2024 campaign, that Haitian immigrants in Springfield are eating cats and dogs. DeWine responded, "These Haitians came in here to work because there were jobs. And if you talk to the employers, they've done a very, very good job, and they work very hard." Trump isn't helping Republicans as governors seeking re-election by dragging them into his house of crazy mirrors. In 2022, DeWine won again after angering Trump by saying Joe Biden was the elected president. Trump repeatedly attacked Georgia's governor, Republican Brian Kemp, for defending his state's election results favoring Biden. And New Hampshire Governor, Republican Chris Sununu, prevailed after Trump accused him of disloyalty. Democrats are pumped for the midterms and might just supply the boost that brings defeat to otherwise popular Republicans, popular precisely because they rise above party when doing so seems right. Okay, our next article is titled 1 hour and 47 minutes of talking and still no economic reality. It clocked in as the longest State of the Union speech in history, probably the only prize it could win. Nastiest, most theatrical, maybe. Full of Trumpism's phony symbolism all around about him. Overblown claims and outright lies. The usual stuff. No, what surprised me most about the president's latest diatribe was not what was there, but what was missing. Economic reality was missing. It is the economy, stupid. It always is, especially when people are feeling anxious and uncertain as they do now. President Trump is telling us we are in the midst of a great economic turnaround, a turnaround for the ages that somehow we are all missing. What was remarkable about the State of the Union was how little he had to say about the vast majority of Americans who are anxious about the economy and have lost confidence in his ability to manage it. And what was Trump's message to them? He boasted that he has resuscitated the American economy after inheriting a nation in crisis. He listed the economic indicators, starting with the stock market, that supposedly show proof of a roaring economy. But he simply can't get his head around the idea of affordability. He continues to view it as a foreign concept, attacking Democrats who suddenly use the word affordability, claiming they knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Affordability is a dirty, rotten lie? Been to the market lately, ever? This is a man who simply has no idea what it means to make ends meet. No clue. He has no worries his children will not be able to afford the American dream of independence and home ownership. He does not feel anybody's pain, and it shows. On the economy and on economic reality, he has nothing to offer. No new policies, no new programs, not even empathy. At least he didn't tell the American people that they have malaise like former President Jimmy Carter's ill-fated message to Americans facing an uncertain economy. No, Trump just told us that we are wrong. Don't believe what you see. Ironically, former President Joe Biden tried without success to prove to Americans that the economy was better than they thought, and you saw where that got him. The economic reality was not the only thing missing from the State of the Union. There was also virtually nothing about the major foreign policy crisis that we're in the middle of with Iran. It was 90 minutes into a speech that Trump got to 3 minutes about Iran, less time than he devoted to transgender issues, which do not threaten a world war. Trump has amassed the largest amount of U.S. military firepower in the Middle East since the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Why? Are we planning to attack? In his State of the Union, he said he would prefer a diplomatic solution, but that we have not heard Iran say those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. As the fact checkers were quick to point out, however, Iran has often made that promise, although evidence gathered over the years that the country has repeatedly appeared to be testing the components that would go into a nuclear weapon has cast doubt on its honesty. Is there any reason to believe them now? Doesn't the future of war in the Middle East and the imminent prospect of the use of force deserve more than 3 minutes in a 107-minute speech? We are a divided country in pain, still reeling from the actions of our own government, uncertain about the economic future, tired of political games. Donald Trump has prided himself on being able to read the room. He's not reading the country right. In the next article, aging power plants must be updated for new needs. Through the years, I've had quite a few people ask me why I haven't moved Confer Plastics to a less costly, freer state like Texas. My answer is always twofold. New York is our home, and all that alleged freedom doesn't mean a thing if basic human and economic needs aren't being met. I think back to the deep freeze of 2021 when the Lone Star State couldn't provide electricity to homes and businesses due to weaknesses in grid management and preparation. Predictable, reliable, cost-effective energy is the lifeblood of our factory. We need to know that when we flip a switch to our equipment, will power on every time. We also need to know how much that energy is going to cost. New York has always excelled when it comes to energy, but the way the Empire State is thinking about energy now makes me wonder if its superpower might soon become its weakness. The New York Independent System Operator, NYISO, has warned that skyrocketing growth in electric usage paired with aging power plants could severely stress existing infrastructure, resulting in blackouts as early as 2027. About a quarter of our state's power plants have reached retirement age. We'd love to see wind, solar, and nuclear pick up the slack, but they're not coming online fast enough. If we pull the plug on older plants now, we're asking for outages and a hit to our wallets that most folks in businesses cannot afford. There's a common sense way out. Repower aging plants. Think of it like putting a new engine in an old truck. We update their parts so they run cleaner and stronger, keeping power steady in the process. While most of the plants that need repowering are downstate, repowering means lower cost generation and more energy statewide. Western New York will reap the benefits and keep more of our energy here. Between electrification efforts, massive new data centers, and the chip plant under construction, we'll be using more power than ever. We've got to find a way to keep the lights on. Tough times call for new ways of thinking. To protect our livelihoods and consumers' pocketbooks and keep Western New York sustainable for the next generation, we've got to be smart. Upgrading the plants we already have is a good start. And that was from Bob Confer. He's the president of Confer Plastics in North Tonawanda. And you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Viewpoints section of the Buffalo News on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service. And now we're going to move on to the Buffalo Next portion of the Buffalo News. Next article is under Spotlight Manufacturing. Decline of jobs at factories dealt a blow to region's economy. Buffalo Niagara's manufacturing post-pandemic revival has run out of steam. Factory employment tumbled by more than 5% through September, hitting a 15-year low during the third quarter, excluding the 2020 low set as the region was starting to emerge from COVID-19 lockdowns. That's a big blow to the Buffalo Niagara economy because manufacturing jobs are among the highest paying positions in the region, averaging more than $80,000 a year, or around 20% more than the region's typical job, according to new data from the State Labor Department. To be sure, part of the downturn over the past year stems from the 1,500 jobs that were lost when the Sumitomo Rubber U.S. factory shut down in the town of Tonawanda in November 2024. Many of those workers have found other positions, but not always in manufacturing, while others retired. But Sumitomo only accounts for a portion of the decline, detailed in the latest quarterly census of employment and wages for the third quarter. The region, though, at the end of September had nearly 2,900 fewer factory jobs than it did at the same time in 2024, and 4,200 less than the third quarter of 2023, when the manufacturing revival peaked. Because factory workers pay so well locally, that decline packs an even bigger economic punch. The total wages earned by manufacturing workers during the third quarter of last year, the most recent period available, fell below $1 billion for the second straight quarter and dropped to its lowest level since the third quarter of 2023. That's a loss of $27 million in earnings, money that isn't being spent at local stores and businesses, and that has a ripple effect that's felt throughout the entire economy. Our next article is titled, Danforth's Outgoing Leader Leaves an Indelible Mark. Kevin Duke Riley is the kind of person who stands out. He's 6'4" and speaks directly. Riley, 68, recently retired as chairman of Town of Tonawanda-based John W. Danforth Company, one of the largest mechanical contractors in the Northeast. The business was sold to MCOR Group, a Fortune 500 company based in Connecticut. Riley was influential in Danforth's growth. He got his nickname from doing a John Wayne impersonation in high school, and it stuck. Everyone knows him as Duke. He's one of those guys who you don't have to say his last name, said Rich Jureller, president of the Buffalo Sabres Foundation. Riley is big on longevity with his friendships and business clients. Christopher Green, a former Danforth board member, attended a lunch honoring Riley. The gathering was a mix of friends, board members, vendors, and customers. I looked around the room and saw people that I knew had relationships with him for 30, 40 years, said Green, a partner at the Barclay Damon law firm. Under Riley's leadership, Danforth maintained strong connections with unionized workers. Michael McNally, retired business manager for Local 22 of the United Association of Plumbers and Steamfitters, said Riley was always in the corner of the union. It's kind of unusual that he's a corporate guy, McNally said. He was fair, but he was not a pushover. Danforth is moving forward under new ownership EMCOR has kept the Danforth name, but the company operates as an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary with EMCOR's Mechanical Construction Services segment. Riley was a key link in Danforth's history, and there are plenty of reasons for that. Family ties. The Riley family entered the Danforth picture in 1955 when Duke Riley's father, Wayne, was hired as a job site clerk. Wayne Riley became president in 1978 and later the chairman and CEO, fueling Danforth's growth during his tenure. 3 of his sons, Duke, Patrick, and Emmett, joined him in the business. Riley admired the dedication to Danforth shown by his father and L. Nelson Hopkins, Jr., who worked his way up to chairman. My dad worked a lot, Riley said. That's what he taught us, hard work. Sometimes we said we weren't the smartest guys, but we had that common sense and awareness and worked hard. Sort of like farmers working 6 or 7 days a week. Riley's first assignment with Danforth was a project manager at a power plant in the town of Somerset. He would travel around New York and Pennsylvania for Danforth jobs, including a project installing underground pipe at a coal-fired power plant and a new bobsled run at Lake Placid for the 2000 Goodwill Games. I liked that when we were smaller and we had a job out of town, I'd say, "Sign me up," Riley said. I was single and I'd go. That was one thing I always cherish, how I think I learned the businesses, being the first guy in the job and the last guy off, he said. And I really liked the challenges and enjoyed doing that, the independence, and you were in charge. Riley especially enjoyed getting to work with 2 of his brothers during his career. We worked together, first call in the morning, last call at night, and how many calls throughout the day, he said. So those are the guys you can lean on. We golfed, we fished, we hunted, and we went to games and worked together. Riley said, we were inseparable. The 3 brothers would move into executive roles at Danforth over time. Riley was named chairman and CEO in 2002. He remained chairman after handing off the CEO's duties to Robert Beck in 2018. Beyond Buffalo, Danforth, which was founded in 1884, has expanded far beyond its Western New York home base. The company now has offices in Rochester, Syracuse, Albany, Vermont, and Ohio. To Riley, establishing locations in those markets meant something. You can support them from the home office, but I think it has to be a grassroots effort where you have hometown people working in those offices that are fabric of the community, he said. Edward Ted Walsh Jr., whose own firm, Walsh Insurance, has worked with Danforth for decades, said expansion enabled Danforth to diversify. If one market was down a little bit, another would pick it up, he said. They were able to successfully grow the company by expanding to other markets. Danforth built off its reputation in Buffalo as it expanded, Green said. When they check out the reputation, they knew it was a quality contractor that was true to its mission and true to its follow-through. Danforth has worked on some high-profile jobs, including the new Highmark Stadium, Gates Vascular Institute, the University at Buffalo, and Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. But McNally said Riley was also an effective partner for securing smaller private sector jobs. That's where Duke was an advocate among us, said McNally, who has known Riley for 25 years. Danforth has long-standing ties with 2 unions, the sheet metal workers and the plumbers and steam fitters, at both the local and national level. At peak activity, Danforth has about 1,000 employees. Riley said creating a safe work environment and chemistry with the workers on the job was essential. You give them good tools, you give them information, you make them feel that they do more than anyone in the industry, he said. That's an industry-leading experience, and that's what's going to make you take it from good to great. Distinct leadership. Riley has a plain-spoken leadership style. He talks about knocking the T off can't when it comes to getting things done. He said the toughest part of any job are the C's: cost control, building a cohesive unit, and chemistry. Duke is a straight shooter, Green said. There is nothing complicated, just the truth, the facts. You always knew where you stood with him. Walsh said Riley sets a very high bar for other people that are working with him. He works harder than he asks anyone else to work. He's one of those that can really inspire people. Riley was open to new ideas and strategies for growing Danforth, Walsh said. As some of the old industrial plants faded into history, Danforth adapted to perform work on hospitals, office buildings, and data centers. The company also looks to the future, hosting events to showcase careers to young people. Employee ownership. Danforth in 2006 converted to a full employee stock ownership plan, giving its workers more of the stake in the company's fortunes. By last year, the ESOP had matured, and the plan was requiring more administrative attention. We spent a lot of time with banks and bonding guys and trustees and ESOP loans, Riley said. It was sort of getting time-consuming, and some of our consultants said it might be time. Danforth was already getting approached by prospective buyers. When MCOR came calling, Riley said he believed the company was an ideal fit based on its culture and customer relationships. He had also heard good things about the results of other acquisitions by MCOR. They have a very well-run, very modern shop, and it's one of the attractions they had with us in a pretty good labor market, said Anthony Guzzi, MCOR's chairman, president, and CEO, in a call with analysts last October after the deal was disclosed. MCOR estimated Danforth would add $350 million to $400 million to its annual revenue. Beck remains Danforth's CEO. The old saying is, you should leave a place a little better than you found it, Riley said. Hopefully I did that. Green said ESOPs don't last forever, and this one ended up growing and appreciating. Even though Danforth is no longer locally based, Danforth under MCOR has the capital to keep growing, Green said. The same people are still working there, and they still have a major role here. Community connections. Riley has served on the Sabres Foundation board for about 2 decades. Gireller, the foundation's president, said Riley is instrumental to its work. He's one of the most generous people in the community and has been, Gireller said. His knowledge of what's going on and what the needs are in the community has been incredibly helpful to us. Riley said community support was always important to him at Danforth, not only through writing checks, but with volunteer support for various causes. Now retired, Riley recently walked through Danforth's shop. He didn't get far without an employee stopping him to shake his hand and greet him. Titles aside, some things won't change for Riley. I'll always be an ambassador for Danforth, he said. And you are listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Next section of the Buffalo News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Okay, our next article is under Business of Sports. indoor turf facility in North Buffalo has been a big success. The first full indoor turf facility within Buffalo's city limits has been packed for the first several months since its opening. The early interest in the $12 million Thomas M. Smith Athletic Center at the Don Morris Field at Shoshone Park reveals the great demand for such a facility in the city, with most people and teams now using it, no longer having to make the trek to Buffalo suburbs for turf field training and play. The 35,000 square foot indoor multi-sport and recreational facility on Hurdle Avenue in North Buffalo was fully funded by the city and intentionally has a community-first feel. The full-size indoor turf playing field and the secondary turf training area have been open to the community essentially for free most afternoons. The facility also features batting cages, a community room with Wi-Fi access, public restrooms, administrative offices, and an additional community amenities. It opened to the public and an assortment of organizations in November for training in baseball and softball, as well as lacrosse and soccer. The Bennett and McKinley High School football teams were among the first athletes to use the facility when they needed a place to train for their state playoff runs in October. And now there's an effort to make the facility even more accessible to the community and nonprofits seeking to use the space for their services. According to Ron Palat, owner of 3 and 2 Baseball in Tonawanda and Clarence, who is serving as general manager of the city facility. "We kind of hit the ground running," Palat said. The need had shown itself. We're busy from open to close almost every day. It's the first time that some organizations and even Buffalo Public Schools have had an opportunity to get on turf to practice baseball, softball, lacrosse, as opposed to going to their gym, where they run into some limitations. Ground was broken on the facility in 2023, about 5 years after the project was first announced. The timeline for construction was thrown off track by COVID-19 pandemic. Now that it is open daily, starting around 11 a.m. on weekdays, the facility has been accessible to the community on average for about 50 hours per week. It is not the lone facility of its kind in the city, but also is important in the area as a whole, with the long winters and prolonged cold and rainy springs of western New York. With limited time to play outdoors in the Buffalo area, especially for weather-dependent sports such as baseball and softball, and an increase in year-round training and sports specialization, indoor sports facilities are in high demand. During most weekday afternoons, the public can come in to use the facility. For city residents, it costs only $1 for seniors and people under the age of 18, while adults are $2. People come in to walk, run, and do yoga. They're also kicking around soccer balls and playing flag football. It's basically open to the community, however they want to use it. They're more than welcome to take advantage of it, Palat said. The space is needed during most late afternoons and evenings and on weekends for private rentals by sports teams and adult leagues at competitive rates, Palat said. The cost is about 25% less than many comparable facilities in the area, he added. Also, once a month there is a free community program offered that may range from CPR and AED training to sports training. These are all things that, unfortunately, the city hasn't had the opportunity to provide, and where we are located, we are in the heart of North Buffalo. We have seen people from all different districts come to use the facility, Palat said. Teams from the city have needed to travel for training to places such as 3-2 baseball and other facilities around the suburbs of Buffalo, such as Salem Sports Park in Elma, Epic Sports Center in Williamsville, and Sports Performance Park in Eastern Hills Mall. That's no longer necessary. Baseball, softball, and soccer teams that play at Shoshone Park have also been able to stay home to train indoors. During the summer, at a time when indoor facilities get much less usage, Palat is looking to partner with the community and more nonprofits to bring programming and day camps to the facility. He is able to offer free rentals to organizations that provide a service to residents. Palat became the general manager of the facility through relationships he made while running 3-2 baseball. He was hired by nonprofit Hurdle North Park Youth Baseball League and meets with city officials on a regular basis to discuss how to bring even more community opportunities to the facility. This facility has even been beneficial to some of the suburban teams that train at 3-2 because it offers significantly more space to play. We knew it would be beneficial to the community, but the feedback has been even more incredible, Palat said. And under personal finance, there's a few hints and points for people. Number 1, set clear saving goals. The key to successful saving is knowing what you're saving for, whether it's emergency fund, a down payment on a house, on a dream vacation. Having specific goals can help keep you motivated and on track. Start by deciding your goals, giving them names such as new car or wedding, and setting deadlines for when you want to achieve them. Then calculate how much you need to save each month to reach your target amount by your deadline. Your first goal should probably be to save for emergencies, whether you're hit with a curveball in the form of a car repair, medical bill, or a job loss. Having an emergency fund with 3 to 6 months of living expenses can help you weather financial storms without going into costly debt. And next, create a budget that works for you. At its core, a budget is simply a plan for making sure you're spending less than you earn. In addition to helping you pay your bills on time and cover essential expenses, a budget can help you accomplish things like saving money and paying down debt. The key is to find a budgeting method that works for your lifestyle and personality. Whatever budgeting strategy you choose, follow it. It'll involve tracking where your money goes each month. This gives you a chance to find areas to cut spending. Tackle high-interest debt. While it might not feel like paying off debt is helping you save, eliminating interest charges from carrying a balance can free up money to put towards your goals. According to a recent Bankrate survey, nearly half of the American credit card holders carry a balance from month to month with an average APR just under 20%. Let's say you have a $5,000 credit card balance with a 20% APR. Even if you pay $300 per month, you'll end up paying an extra $906 in interest before reaching a zero balance. That's money that could be going into your savings instead. Automate your savings. Set up a recurring transfers from your checking account to your savings account each payday. Many banks offer tools like roundup programs, which automatically round your debit card purchases to the nearest dollar and transfer the spare change to your savings. Over time, those small amounts can really add up. You can also take advantage of money-saving apps like Opportunor QAPITAL, which can analyze your spending habits and automatically move small amounts of money into your savings when you can afford it. And finally, separate your spending and saving. If you're just getting started with saving money, consider opening up a savings account at a different bank from where you keep your checking account. This may help to create a psychological barrier between the money you set aside for spending versus savings, making it less likely you'll raid your savings on a whim. When you open your bank account app and your checking and savings numbers are in there, you kind of add those numbers together and you're like, oh, that's how much money I have to spend, says Pamela Capelat, a certified financial planner and owner of Get Shameless Incorporated. But if your bank accounts are at separate institutions, and better yet, if your savings account is a high-yield savings account, it's out of sight, out of mind, and your savings will grow. And you have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the March 1st, 2026 issue of the Viewpoints and Buffalo Next sections of the Buffalo News. And we read the Viewpoints section of the Buffalo News every Sunday at 6 p.m. And your reader has been Karen, and thank you very much for listening. Take good care of yourself and have a good day. Yeah, bye-bye.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the National Enquirer. At 8 p.m., we have People Magazine. And at 9 o'clock, we have the New York Times Book Review. Stay tuned for these readings and more. And if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions, please stay with us. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Zero, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print